Tom, thank you very much for joining us. Start with the usual question. Start from the top. What's your best moment in football?
I think promotion last year. Certainly as a team and my boyhood club. I think being part of a promotional winning side's the thing that gives me the most happiness.
Just tell me why that meant more to you as a Vale fan who'd obviously grown up watching the team.
Can't really explain, really. I think for years, I remember, I could say the mid-90s and early 90s where they were the best years at the club, and then obviously 2001 was it, where we won the LDV against Brentford, and being down there and just seeing the atmosphere, that you just realised how much it meant to the club. And certainly when he used to come in, there used to be 13,000, 14,000. And then it died down for the last 10, 15 years, obviously. Money trouble and not much of a squad. And then, obviously last year, having such a great run and realising that we were starting to get back to the 10, 11,000, 12,000 mark and to be part of it, was a great feeling for me.
So when you were watching that Vale team in the mid-90s, then the LDV team, were you even then thinking, I'm going to be a footballer and I'm going to play for Port Vale one day? Or did that not even enter your imagination?
No, I think, it's any football fan's dream. If you go watch football and you're interested in football, then you won't be a footballer. I don't know one football fan that says, no, I'd rather be a plumber. It's something that you want to do, and certainly being a footballer is one thing and playing for the club that you support another. So, I've done both of them, and
Was there a striker you particularly admired at the Vale?
Martin Foyle, I think. During that time, goal scorer, wasn't the biggest, but great in the air, put himself about, scored goals. He was one I always watched and admired more than most. But at that time, there were so many good players. You had the McCarthys, the Guppies, Dean Glovers. I won't say Gruey. But we had so many good players, and Ray Walker. You could have picked 7 or 8 players to admire. And over the last 10 years, there probably hasn't been 7 or 8 players that, over the last 10 years, that you could say was a great player for the Vale. So, hopefully we're starting to get to good times now. Obviously with Norman putting some money in and the club having a real feel-good factor about it, we can kick on and move forward.
Okay, and that's your high then. So let's bring it down to your depressing point. What's the lowest point in football?
From professional point of view, probably getting relegated with Crewe. It was my first real full season, and I finished as top scorer, and I moved to Rotherham in the summer after. But I think a relegation on anybody's CV's not a great thing, and it's certainly disappointing that the way that it wasn't even close in the end. It was a tough run. We brought Gudge on and everything, and it was just a tough time for the club. And I think any player will tell you relegation's the worst feeling in the world, whether it's a club you support or not. When you play for a club and you've got a relegation, it's tough take.
Because of that professional pride as well, you don't want to let people down.
It is, certainly from my point of view, I thought, if you can have a few years of hopefully promotions and having a good time, then once you've had them years of joy, you're going at some point, have a dark time and probably a relegation at some point. I think most players that have been in the game 10, 15 years had either had a relegation or a promotion at some point. But to get to my first full season was tough. So that's certainly one of the low points.
Okay, thanks Tom. Okay, and next question then, which sportsman or sportswoman do you most admire?
I'd say Mike Tyson. I don't admire him for his out the ring activities, but obviously as a sportsman and what he achieved and what he could have achieved, when he was 20, 21, there was there was nothing that could have beat him. I think it was just, obviously his training, Customato dying and things like that. I think that it can send you over the rails. You know, any sportsman will tell you a death or somebody that's been close to you all your life can change. I think if he'd have stayed with him for another 10 years, Mike Tyson had never lost a fight.
How do you rate if he fought some of the greats from down the eras? Do you think he'd stood up to him?
He'd have beat anyone.
Really? He's that good, yeah?
Yeah, with his power. I mean, people always say to me, Muhammad Ali, and it annoys me when that happens, because not only did he lose fights, I just think he was the first person, you know, certainly gets stuck into him, and, you know, he was certainly entertaining to listen to, but I think, I don't see how other fighters would have enjoyed listening to him, to be honest, because, you know, there's nothing more that annoys me. I mean, and being a boxing fan, there's nothing more annoying for me when you hear people trash talking somebody out, and you know they're going to get spot. You know, all the Harrison used to do before every fight, where he'd stand there and say, I'm going to beat him, I'm going to knock him out, and stands there and don't throw a punch and ends up spot out. You know, it's annoying. But he had everything, Ali. But, you know, Marciano had an unbeaten record, and people just overlook him because he wasn't in the era of Muhammad Ali and Joe Louis and Foreman. I think if you're a fighter and you retire as an heavyweight unbeaten, I think surely you've got to be the best that's ever lived. So, you know, for me, Marciano's would be the best ever.
Okay, and last question. This one, I think this might be about boxing as well. And if you could have any tickets for any sporting event that's ever happened anywhere, what would you choose?
Probably from the Agler era. We were on about it earlier. Leonard, Duran, Agler, you know, any of the four of them really, that when they had them fights, you know, I've got the Book of Tone, the Four Kings, which is based on the four fighters, that, you know, every fight was enjoyable and had something happen non-stop for however long it lasted. You know, to have been there and watched them fights would have been frightening. I wouldn't like to have been in the ring with them, but from a personal point of view, you know, I'd certainly like tickets to have seen that, because I think that was it's probably the best four boxers of our weight at the same time, even better than the heavyweight, like I say, the Ali era. I think them four were much more entertaining, and the thing about them was a lot of the time they went quite a long way in the fight, sometimes to decision at the end. So, you know, it wasn't just a 1 or 2 round fight, it was 14, 15 in them days, and, you know, they never left it. I mean, how fit they were. I mean, I love boxing for the fact that I think you've got to be the fittest person. Mm-hmm. You know, it's certainly the most demanding sport in the world. I remember in pre-season doing some boxing once for just on some pad work for about 10 punches, and felt like my arms were going to drop off. You know, so the amount of punishment they must do to themselves to get themselves fit for a fight's phenomenal, really.
Tom, that's brilliant. Thanks ever so much for your time. That's great. Thank you.
Cheers.